All right, guys. In today's video, we're diving into the Virginia governor's race between Winsome Earl Sears, GOP candidate, and Abigail Spanberger, Democrat candidate. And this race began making national headlines following the deplorable remarks by Jay Jones, a member of the Democrat Party, who's running to become the state attorney general. And once again, what we're seeing from the Democrat Party is a familiar pattern as they continue to take on the identity of the far left. And at this point, you can't even say it's a faction of their party. It's just who they are. Because what used to be considered radical has now been completely normalized within the party. And in the most recent debate, anybody who just has a bit of logic and awareness can see Spanberger's campaign collapsing in real time. And the moment she started speaking, you could see she was not prepared to answer what would be considered some of the most basic questions. When asked about the Jay Jones remark and her stance on biological boys competing against girls in sports or using girls' bathrooms, she dodged and deflected, talked in circles straight out of the Kamala Harris playbook of word salads. And it was just really embarrassing and pathetic.
Ms. Spanberger, we're going to start with you. Focusing on a K-12 school system, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams? You have 60 seconds.
I'm a mother of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools, and nothing is more important to me than their safety and their experience in schools. I'm also a former federal agent, and I work to investigate crimes against children. And so nothing is more important to me than the safety of all of our children. And that work, in part, has earned me the endorsement of Virginia's Police Benevolent Association.
So would you tell Steve
Ms. Earl Sears, Ms. Spanberger is talking. Please let her finish.
On issues related to what's happening in our schools and each individual community, I think it's important that we have parents and teachers and administrators making decisions about their individual schools, not politicians. And if we are talking about the safety of our children, I would ask why my opponent continues to support efforts to defund public safety, an effort carried on continually by this administration.
Ms. Spanberger, once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K-12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
In cases across Virginia, I think it's incumbent upon parents and educators and administrators in each local community to make decisions locally.
That's what this is about.
Ms. Earl Sears?
There should never be nude men
oh
in
my
locker
goodness,
rooms.
we finally have her saying that, but you voted for that.
Ms. Earl
have
Sears.
You finally
my opponent
Ms. Earl
said
Sears,
that
you are
now?
just intruding on
Are
time
we in
here.
agreement now? Are you going
Earl
to
Sears?
tell?
Now, I will say this. Winsome Earl Sears just needs to let Spanberger talk. I get it. She might be fired up or even perhaps slightly pissed off with the fact that this woman is even a viable candidate for the governor's seat. And the fact that up until this whole Jay Jones situation occurred, there were some polls showing that she was actually up on the GOP candidate by as many as 10 points. But seriously, you got to let Spanberger dig her own grave because she sound all over the place and unprepared. She didn't answer the question that entire time, not once, to the point where even the moderator had actually realized he has to repeat the question because he didn't get an actual answer. Just a bunch of word salad that meant absolutely nothing. And ladies and gentlemen, this is someone who wants to be the governor. This lady can't even stand firmly on a position. If you can't answer basic questions in a debate, why should anyone believe you have what it takes to lead the state?
You both will have a chance for rebuttal. Democratic Attorney General nominee Jay Jones admits he sent text messages to a colleague referencing former Republican House Speaker Todd Gilbert. Here's what he wrote.
Jones. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Colleague. Jay, please stop. Jones. LOL, okay. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Colleague. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Jones. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
For you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee.
Ms. Earl Sayers.
And it's up to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. We just want to clarify, what you're saying is that as of now, you still endorse Jay Jones as Attorney General.
Well, I think as everybody knows, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian before I'm a Republican, and I'm required to forgive people. And it's hard sometimes when somebody has abused you, etc., but it's something you must do, because not to forgive is almost like, as someone said, you drink poison thinking that it's going to affect the other person. And I want to live a decent life, and I don't want to not have peace in my life. And so as I've said before, I would not say that. So that's why I'm wondering why my opponent won't say, beyond it's abhorrent and disgusting, why she won't say it is not okay and that he must leave the race, because Jay Jones advocated the murder, Abigail, the murder of a man, a former speaker, as well as his children who were 2 and 5 years old. You have little girls. What would it take, him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if he said it about your 3 children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
These people have no backbone. Spanberger is simply a prop put in place by Democrats to repeat their talking points, and now she's being exposed as exactly that. And this is what I mean when I say the Democrat Party identity has been taken over by those of the far left, to the point where that's who they are now completely, and that's the problem. Listen, we're not even talking about complex issues here. We're talking about basic questions involving children, not adults. Children. Questions that should be undeniable and easy to answer with clarity and conviction. Yet, she can't do it. She can't stand firm on anything real or moral. And every time she steps in front of a microphone, it only gets worse. Check this out.
What do you make of Earl Sears' claim that you're fine with, quote, putting men in girls' locker rooms?
The reality is that the federal government has the ability to change the letter of the law, right? Through Congress, through the Senate, bills go to the president's desk. Right now, what we are seeing is there are differences between what is the law of the land under Title IX and what are executive orders put out by the White House. And in circumstances where there are conflicting evidence or conflicting interpretations, the reality is the federal government has to be clear in what is the real guidance available to our schools as it relates to use of locker rooms. The reality is that we have multiple jurisdictions who believe they are following the letter of the law and have their lawyers conveying why. And at the end of the day, we have a president of the United States who is taking away and threatening federal funding. What I think is so egregious is that this is a tool that unfortunately this president continues to use, the threat of federal funding. Congress passed funding. It is not the president's ability. This is, basic Article 1. This is, if you believe in the Constitution, the president doesn't have the ability to just pull back funding. And it isn't just to these public schools. It is to our research institutions. It's for cancer research. It is for funding to conservation programs under USDA that are vital to so many of the farmers and producers who employ rotational grazing practices and other conservation practices, voluntary ones, on their land who've been promised investments, and the president just pulls back those funds. The real challenge that exists here is that we have a president who is using congressionally approved federal spending as a cudgel. And just as an issue of principle, right now it's coming after the schools. Before it was coming after conservation programs. It's also consistently across our universities and institutions of higher education and research. It's a dire circumstance. But when it comes down to understanding the implementation of how it is that our kids are coexisting in the classroom or on the sports field, yes, I do think that in many cases it's the local community that knows their community best, and can readily make decisions and provide guidance about how to ensure that all our kids are safe.
I mean, wow. She unleashed the full arsenal of talking in circles, word salad. When all else fails, just blame Trump, avoid, deflect, just to not actually answer and address the issue. The question was, your opponent says you're fine with men being in women's bathrooms. How do you feel about that? We got everything except for the actual answer to the question. And this is why, following that recent debate, as well as Jay Jones' comments, Virginia 2025 governor's race has substantially narrowed with less than 30 days to the election, with Abigail Spanberger 49% on 4+, which was 7+ previously. And I saw some polls saying she even led by as much as 10 points at one point. Winsome Sears 45% now. I'll say this: they must have, up until this point, either really not had her speaking a lot or being very specific with who they allow her to speak to and sticking to the talking points and doing very softball interviews, because for her to even be up 4 points, Virginia, what are you doing? And this is just one poll, so it doesn't tell the entire picture of what's going on in this race. But what this may end up doing is motivating Republicans to come out who otherwise may have not came out, seeing that this woman who has no conviction can't answer basic questions when it comes to men and women's locker rooms, still choosing to back Jay Jones, even after the comments that were made by him. That might be enough where the numbers you're seeing here in polls like this aren't as accurate as what they really are when you talk about on a ground level, speaking about the Virginia governor's race. But guys, as always, leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy any part of the content, go ahead and make sure you smash the like button. For more, subscribe to the channel. But guys, make sure you stick around for the next video where Don Lemon gets humiliated by a Mexican woman who calls him out for his lies using nothing but facts. Make sure you stick around for that. And as always, until next time.